Let's not beat around the bush on this. This is the list of the news terminal for 2018. We're just going to let this scroll for a few seconds. 2020 has not been the best of years for anything. Weapons in this game, pretty much there was nothing until August. Then there was a lot, but there was still some good weapons to begin with. One of which was, well, the Kuva Brahma was technically 2020, and we have now reached the bottom and gone to 2017. That whole scrolling was stuff from prime time 195 upwards, was all stuff from 2018. This year, in comparison, there has been, let's see, there you go, 2020 upwards. It's just, in comparison, there is not as much happened. Due to, let's just go with the how 2020 went from March. Because I don't think anything planned for 2020 actually happened anyway. There are a lot of different weapons that could be in this, but I think I'm kind of going to have to start this one with the Cedo. Why start this list off at number 5 being what is basically the newest weapon in the game, the Cedo, Lavos' signature shotgun? Well, it's because the alternate fire of this thing is actually quite amazing, and it is great for crowd control, and there is so many other weapons that came out this year. There's the Kuva Brahma I've already mentioned, the Sepulchrum, Kuva Hind, Pangolin Prime. Why this? Because, well, it doesn't have any status on it. It's got 0.3% status, so you can build this purely for crit. Starting with 20% crit chance, a 2.4 times crit multiplier. It's pretty much an auto shotgun. It's a good shotgun. It's got good range. It's not overpowering. It's not an overkill weapon. And the alternate fire, again, it's just amazing for crowd control, which is the only reason it's at number 5, but not a little bit higher, because what use is a weapon without good crowd control? In at number 4, the Proboscis Cernos. It has the ability to suck enemies into one location and then explode, dealing damage upon it actually exploding. This thing, yet again, it's good for crowd control. There are better weapons than this, but this was one of the more fun. Just the ability to do this means that, well, all you have to do is run a really good secondary, and you will have the ability to use this, pull all of the enemies together, and deal a nice amount of damage. It is a really good looking weapon, but this, yeah, one good secondary, because they are so grouped together, you'll be able to take a lot of them out very quickly, and if you're playing with 3 other people, they can aim whatever they happen to have into the same group of enemies. Just because of that, it's number 4. It was going to be number 5, but I decided another weapon on this list had to go. In at number 3, this was originally not going to be on this list because be honest, it looks like somebody ran over a gun with a steamroller. It was not the nicest looking of weapons. It's fine from every other angle, but I once saw it from kind of the forward facing angle, and yeah, it kind of put me off this thing massively. It has good crit, good status, doesn't do a lot of damage on its normal attack. Its radial attack does a lot more. Does have a lot of fall off though, but it's actually an amazing primary. And the reason it wasn't on here was simply down to the looks. Until somebody reminded me that they recently did this thing, because it's been absolutely everywhere for the past few weeks. Yeah, if you install Warframe, a free game, on the Epic's Game Store, which is a free client to install, you can claim for free the Unreal Tournament, what is it they call it, weapon skins. If we go back over to this, oh look, problem solved. It went from steamroller gun to this. And then it starts to get really good. Oh yes, and it can also do 30,000 damage. Not so much from its primary attack, more so from its charged kind of radius attack. Need to reload first, charge it up, auto fire, and yeah, it is this that made it a really good weapon, and it was just made so much better by the skin. That skin made this thing much... This is what this should have looked like to begin with. It is, of course, from Unreal Tournament. It's an old skin, but they updated it to make it look so much better. And it kind of remade this weapon to be something that had been long forgotten, to being back to something you wouldn't mind actually playing with. In very reluctantly in second is the Bubonico. Simply because the Cedo didn't quite make it to the list. Or was it number 1? However, whatever it was last year, it was on there. This thing is kind of a shotgun based Cedo, and it's just not as good. Let's be brutally honest here. It's good, don't get me wrong, but the Cedo is so much better. This thing, it was between this and the secondary. The secondary can't do... How do I put it? That. Oh yeah, I should probably back up now. Remembering, this is paused. Yeah. It has probably one of the most game-killing secondary fire modes ever. But I think it's just... The Stropha is good, but this, just the fact is it is a shotgun that has that range for its secondary, and the secondary does so much nice damage. It had to go to number 2. It had to be moved up one. And I did choose the Bubonico over the Catalyst for this list, just simply because it does so much more damage than this thing does. I love the reload of this thing, but the Bubonico has the range this doesn't. And I'm sorry, but in at number 1 has to be the Trumna. There is reasons behind my madness on this one, and it is purely nothing but madness. There is a lot of actual different weapons that have come to Warframe in 2020. It was a slow year, but since August, we've had a lot. I absolutely loved the Cova Hind. That's back from the beginning of the year, but it is kind of old, and there is better weapons than this. The Trumna, to me, was, I'm just going to call it a lifesaver when it came to the Mastery Rank 30 test. After spending something like 4 or 5 days trying to actually get through this thing, I borrowed a Riven for the Trumna, and it was set up to do this using the Trumna. And the Pennant, though the Pennant I do believe was number 1 last year, or it was in the list last year. Instead of using that, I completely forgot I actually brute force and ignoranced my way through the Mastery Rank 30 test using Mesa, which is exactly what I'm doing. But the Trumna was set up for this, and since then, it's basically been my go-to weapon for a lot of things. It does have the slight knockback, yes, that is expected. It does have a radial attack to it. And because I know I'm going to get grief for this, 25,500 radial damage this thing is doing. It can do more. But as I say, I'm missing the Riven on this at the moment, so I'm trying to find another one that will make me go back to using this all of the time. Until then, I'm just enjoying playing with lots of other things. Till then, this will go back on. But all of my Spectres are basically running it. I don't know why I probably just for, what is it, the level 1 Spectre I had here. I obviously had the Speckle Rum and the melee weapon equipped for these at the time, but every time I summon my Spectre, somebody asks me what this weapon is. What is your top 5? Also, comment section below. We'll be interested to see what everybody else's is. I've tried making this a topic of discussion on Discord a few times, mainly because I was kind of stuck at 4 because I didn't want to put the 5th one in, and I didn't. It went bye-bye, which is actually why one of these is on here that probably shouldn't have been anyway. But I think that's about it. We'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch yous next year.